So yesterday what we were discussing was about E2. I'll just brush it up and before we can start with the next topic. E2 as such, we know what is the type of reaction. But majorly what we learned yesterday is there is a chance of forming of two different types of products, Hoffman and Shezheff. Hoffman are less substituted products, Shezheff are more substituted products. Depending upon their stability, depending upon their transition states, we would get one of them as major product. Now, transition state always depends upon what is the stability of the product, because eliminations are endothermic reactions. All right. In endothermic reaction, transition state is very close to product's energy. So the features of transition state would always replicate the features of the product. This is called Hammond's principle. We have studied that. Okay, here it is. So the features of transition state will always have more similarities to that of the features of the products. While in case if it is an exothermic reaction, features of transition state will have more of reactants. And in case if there is any multiple reactions, transition state will have features of intermediate. This is what Hammond's principle tells us. And then we have seen something about the regioselectivity. Regioselectivity as in when a base is trying to attack and making an elimination reaction, it has a chance to remove proton from this carbon, it has a chance to remove proton from this carbon. Out of these two, it chooses one as the major product. Correct? So the attack is becoming very specific. When attack becomes very specific on one orientation or one direction, we call that as regio-specific. And the product that is forming out of these two, you see this has becoming major. So the major product that is forming, it's called regio-selective. So this product has come as a regio-selective product. The mechanism was driven by regio-specific. So these are the two terms we have learned. Next, when you have multiple transition states, alright, then the transition state which has least amount of activation energy is always called the kinetic path. The transition state which has least energy is always called the kinetic path. And the product which is more stable, right, P2 is more stable. So this path, if the reaction is happening, it is called the thermodynamic path. Okay. So fortunately, in case of what example we have taken, the kinetic product as well as thermodynamically favorable product is also P2. We have seen few examples. Based on that, we decided what is a major product. Continuing with 2-3 more examples, let us see. In case if we have cyclohexane this way with chlorine here and EtO minus K plus. Here I can get two products, double bond outside here plus double bond inside, like this. These are the two products we can get. One is exocyclic. Any pi bonds existing outside the ring are called exocyclic. If pi bonds are within the ring, they are called endocyclic. So one forms exocyclic and one forms endocyclic. Usually it has been seen that the endocyclic are always major product as compared to that of exocyclic. Got it? So let me put it as a note here. Double bond is more stable. Double bond is more stable inside a ring. Inside a ring, that is endocyclic, than outside a ring, which is exocyclic. this would be seen in 5 or 6 membered rings. 6 membered rings. Make a note, everyone. Entropy factor, got it. So the molecule will not see much of an entropy change when it is going through endocyclic, got it. While when it goes to exocyclic, the entropy will slightly decrease. Next example, if you check out, how the effect of base will make a difference. See, as bulkiness as bulkiness of base increases, percentage Hoffman product increases. Percentage of Hoffman product will increase. For example, let's say I have chlorine here this way. Right. Now, double bond can form here, and this is Hoffman's product HF. I'll write it as HF, Hoffman product, plus double bond can form here. Right. Now it depends upon what type of a base I'm taking here. Right. Suppose if I take simple bases like ethoxide, ETO minus or MEO minus. Right. Strong bases, ETO minus is a strong base, MEO minus is a strong base, so they can extract proton from the beta position. You would see the percentage Hoffman is around 29 and Shezef is around 71%. Right. So when it comes to ETO minus, it could be easy to pull even the electron from this beta position, from this beta position, and from this beta position. Okay. So for it would always try to see where it can get the more stable product. So for these type of bases, they will be more regio specific about the position where they can get more stable product. But in case if we take something like a tert-butoxide, TBU minus, TBUO minus, TBO minus means this is the way, this is tert-butoxide. So tert-butoxide, or we can have, all ethyl butoxide this way. So in this, you see, if you react this molecule with ETO minus K plus here, so we would get this as double bond here plus double bond here. And this would be cis plus trans, would have cis plus trans here. And we usually expect this has to be major product. Okay. Anyways, now if the halide is also different, like it has iodine, bromine, chlorine, like that. So in case if X is bromine, chlorine, or iodine, in all of these cases, we will see this as the major product and this as minor product. You know that this is Hoffman and this is Shezef product. While if X is fluorine, then this will be major product and here this will be minor product. Yeah. Now why this percentage Shezef is decreasing? So if you see the percentage Shezef product, it will decrease from iodine towards fluorine. What happened in case of carbon fluorine bonds, it doesn't break appreciably, during E2 mechanism, and hence accumulates partial negative charge on beta carbon. Okay, let me show you how. Suppose the same question, if it was fluorine here and uh, fluorine here, let us take the base. Suppose proton, if hydrogen was here, one hydrogen was here, second hydrogen is here. So base is trying to extract that. So ETO minus will try to extract here. So when you try to extract this proton, ETO minus trying to extract this proton here. Same time we are expecting fluorine to leave. So that this will give Hofmann, this will give Shezev. See the transition state, what is happening in the transition state. In transition state, hydrogen bond is breaking. EOT will have delta negative. Fluorine bond is breaking and double bond is being made. But problem is, fluorine is so strongly bonded with carbon, this hydrogen bond will break first. This bond will break more than compared to that of CF bond. So relatively, some delta negative is already established here. The same thing will happen here also. Fluorine is trying to leave from here and double bond is forming here. Hydrogen is trying to leave by ETO minus this way. And same thing, because the bond breaking is weaker and slower, delta negative will come. So if you check out transition state 1 and transition state 2, if these two are the transition state, which transition state is more stable, students? So you can see transition state 1 is more stable than transition state 2. See the carbanion positions. So the first one has primary carbanion, second one has secondary carbanion. So it would prefer to go in which path? The reaction will try to go in this path. Clear? I hope all of you understood that. That's why Hofmann is coming out to be major as compared to that of Shezev. Transition state 1 has carbanion formation on the primary position, while here it has its secondary position. Which carbanion is more stable? It is primary. Yes, beta. With remaining halogens, simultaneous reaction will take place and delta minus doesn't form. No. If you take bulky base, this is an extra plus, right? The percentage here is coming as how much? 78. I didn't write it. 78% and something. If you use bulky base, this would become even 95%. Clear? Because bulky base can only extract at primary positions. No? Yes, then Hofmann will start preferring. You will have major product as Hofmann and minor product as Shezev. Suppose if this question is given alcoholic KOH. Okay. So in case of alcoholic KOH, you can see that, let me take slightly unsymmetrical. So this is unsymmetrical on both the ends here, and alcoholic KOH means unless anything specified about tert butoxide, we will take alcoholic KOH always as a less bulkier base. Always remember, we are taking alcoholic KOH as less bulkier base. So we might get a double bond on this side and we might get a double bond on this side. Okay. Relatively, if you see the stability, the first one is slightly more stable than the second one, correct? Because of hyperconjugation. This has 3 plus 2, 5 hyperconjugated hydrogens. This has 4 hyperconjugated hydrogens. Correct? Well, when you have such 2 degrees of almost similar kind, it's very difficult to identify, major product. You can say almost 50-50% would be present for both of them. So don't ignore one over the other and say one is major over the other. So we can say almost they would have similar percentages in both the cases. And these are not Hofmann or Shezev because substitute the alkyl groups on both the sides is same. There are 2 alkyl groups with respect to this double bond. There are 2 alkyl groups with respect to this double bond. Yes, beta. Like I said, although this is more stable here, while removing the proton from this secondary and this secondary, kinetically it is not making much of a difference. Yeah. So that's why you will get almost 50-50%. Maybe it is like 51% and 49%, but almost this would be same. Okay. Heavier, bulkier base, definitely then this will become major product, because from this end only you will see less bulkiness. Here it has more bulkiness. Brett's rule is used whenever there is a bridge compound, and we do not prefer it to make any double bond on the bridge carbon. Correct. So in short, let me write what is Brett's rule. A double bond can't be placed. Double bond can't be placed with one terminus at the bridge head of a bridged ring system. Okay. Unless the rings are large enough. Unless the rings are large enough as in 8 or more than 8 carbons. Imagine this is how the group is. Cl is present here. Alcoholic, KOH and heat we are using to make elimination. Okay. So we will try to make a double bond here or here. So in both the sides, if we make double bond, what do we get? Now see the ring size here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Since there is an 8-membered ring here, so double bond can exist on the bridgehead carbons. But if this membered ring is less than 8, this won't be the product at all. Only the second one will be the major product and only product. That's right. So that will be the only product present. If we have any halide on the bridge carbon, and you are using ETO minus and heat. Here. Now see the ring size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-membered ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-membered ring. Either ways, if you see, there is only 6-membered ring or a 5-membered ring. So the only position it could form a double bond is this side or this side. Okay? This is what you are expecting it to form. Which means here on this bond, like this, double. Okay. But since it is forming a 6-membered or a 5-membered only, so this reaction doesn't take place. Yeah. On similar lines, in case if we are having Br here and reacting with ETO minus, right? In that case, alkene will form, but 100% it will only form on this side. Right? So 100% alkene will form on this side only. Now, this is about having a bridge heads. What if there is only fused rings and no bridge heads? Like in this case, there is only fused ring, no bridge head carbons. Then alcoholic KOH, when you treat with this, in that case, it can form a double bond. Here, there is no issue. It can form a double bond here, plus it can make a double bond on the other side. First case, the first one will be the major. More substituted. Yes. Like I said, alcoholic KOH, as long as I take, I always assume it to be less bulky. Now, this is a very important area. This is the stereochemistry of E2. Stereochemistry of E2. First, I want all of you to just see and understand the concept. Then we'll solve some problems. Check. Suppose if there is this alkene given here with this being halide, which is a leaving group, and this side there is a proton. So with respect to this leaving group here, there is one proton, one hydrogen here and one hydrogen opposite to this, clear? Check out this bromine and this hydrogen are opposite to each other, and this bromine and this hydrogen are on the adjacent side, on the similar side. Got it? Now if you see the plane wise, got it? So this would fall on the same plane, this bromine, this hydrogen, correct? This carbon, I can rotate it such a way they all four can be on the same plane. Similarly, I can make these four on the same plane. Got it? When you make first one, when you make these four on the same plane here, like this, correct? And then make the elimination, like like base is extracting proton from proton here, this hydrogen it is extracting, and leaving group is going from here, bromine is leaving from there. Clear? Then they are in the same, the elimination and leaving group both are in the same plane, and that plane is called syn periplanar. Please remember the terminology, syn periplanar. So it is going through a syn periplanar structure. Okay, and after the extraction is done, see what is happening. These hydrogens which were three-dimensionally down, they will come up and try to become on the plane. And the pi bond, this bond which was breaking here as well as here, will become pure orbitals and start to make pi bond. Okay, that's how the pi bond is formed. Here everyone, right? So this is called a syn elimination. So in syn elimination, carbon hydrogen bond is lost, and bromine, that is the leaving group, is lost from here, and both of them are at the coplanarity, which means they are the same state, changing carbon's hybridization from sp3 to sp2 now. So now this has become sp2. So I hope you understood this, what I'm trying to say. Next, suppose in case if I put both of this, because I took these two as reference, so I can now say that all of this are in the same plane. So we can definitely rotate it such a way that the leaving group here and this hydrogen both are on the same plane, but they are opposite to each other. So when they are opposite to each other, we call them as being anti-periplanar to each other. So now both of them are anti-periplanar to each other. So base will extract proton here, leaving group will leave from here, and then we'll get a double bond formation. Got it? So given a chance, which one is more preferred here? Syn or anti-elimination? See what is happening, base is trying to come here. So base is nothing but, electron density. At the same time, leaving group is trying to go, which is also an electron density. So these electron densities are coming close to each other in the syn elimination part, while here they are opposite to each other. If you see in this case, they are quite opposite to each other. Sorry. So given a chance, which is more preferred, beta? Is it syn or anti? Always anti is preferred. Right. So whenever we have the case, the major product we should make should always be with respect to anti. Okay, when should we make syn? When there is no other way that we are getting anti, then you have to go for syn. Clear, everyone? So I think conceptually it is clear what is syn and what is anti-periplanar and how the elimination usually happens. What are the important takeaways from this? One, elimination will only happen when the leaving group and the base coming are on the same plane. That is the first take you should, first point you should learn. Second thing, both should be for a major product, base and leaving group must approach from the anti-periplanar way. Okay, clear? So please write down these points here. Leave some gap for the image. Just give some space and write it from here. E2 follows E2 follows elimination. E2 follows elimination from an anti-periplanar arrangement. Anti-periplanar arrangement. To facilitate effective overlap, the orbitals of beta carbon hydrogen and CX bond should be parallel. So this point is very important, students. See, both has to be parallel. This and this must be lying on the same plane. When they keep it parallel, then only final pi bond formation will be formed easily. Okay, right. So this is achieved. By syn or anti-periplanar forms. Syn or anti-periplanar arrangements. Anti-periplanar transition state is more stable than syn-periplanar transition state. So in short, how I will write, check it out. So imagine this is the halogen which it has. Here is the halogen, and this is the proton which we have. Okay, so B minus base is extracting from here. This bond will shift here. This X minus will shift here. See the transition state. Single bond C, have X minus, double bond formation here, taken from here, and see, all of them are in the same plane and no repulsions. Right, let us understand the next point here. Suppose if we write the Newman projection of any alkyl halide, right? So this green ball is halide and backside H is, backside ball is, red ball is hydrogen. So you can see when I write it in the Fischer projection, this is the syn periplanar, which means the eclipsed form which you are writing, which we write is always the syn periplanar, and the anti-form which you write, see this is the anti-form. So the anti-form which we write is always the anti-periplanar. So this group is here, hydrogen is on the other side. Let me show the same thing in Fischer projection. Okay. Fischer projection is always the eclipsed form. Remember, students, Fischer projection is not about anti-form. So first you have to write the eclipsed form and then convert into the anti-form. See how I do that. Okay, this is the front carbon, this is the back carbon, right, students? So we have this way, and front carbon, I have leaving group above, hydrogen below, and here we have two hydrogens. Okay, I'll mark them with colors. This was leaving group and hydrogen. Now this is the Fischer projection for this eclipsed form. They are in syn position to each other, correct? Now if at all I want to make them into anti-position, what I would do, suppose if I make sure that this leaving group is on here, I should make two exchanges, correct? So let's say the leaving group is here, I'll make two exchanges, so hydrogen can come here. Same way, this hydrogen can come here, right? Well, this is not a chiral center, so you don't have to worry about it, but we can get to this position. So when you bring it to this position, now they will be opposite to each other. Now they are anti to each other. Clear? So whenever you have this structure, you try to bring it this way. In Fisher projection, it may be difficult to understand how they are opposite to each other. So that's why I'm writing the uh, Sawhorse projection. In Sawhorse projection, what we take, we'll first take it as a Fisher projection here. This is the Fisher projection which had L here, H here, and H here. Got it? And then we have H here, and H here. This is the way it is. Okay, guys. Now let me mark the ones which we are talking about. These two are the ones which we are talking about. Now to make it slightly anti-parallel to each other, what will I do? I will rotate this bond by 60 degrees. So I'm rotating that. What do I get? I'll get this as H, H, and H. And here we will get here as this way. This will be L, H, and H. Now observe it carefully. This hydrogen and this L are exactly opposite to each other, anti-parallel to each other. When anti-parallel forms, then only you have to do the elimination. So then you do the elimination. Let me show you with an example here how the elimination usually is taking place. Suppose if at all I have a molecule where we have different chiral centers, pH, Br, H, H, CH3, pH. Okay, I'll do this by both the methods, whichever structure you are comfortable with, you always attempt that way. Suppose I use ETO minus and heat, so I'm expecting an alkene products. So what we will do, first, this is a Fisher projection. See, first way of solving is converting into Hoffman, Newman projection. So I will always try to use Newman. Newman, I'm more comfortable with Newman. So what I'll do, I'll write the Newman projection. So the Newman projection for this is, pH, Br, and H. This is the front carbon. Back carbon is methyl, okay, phenyl here, and hydrogen here. I hope all of you understood the Newman projection. So I just put the Newman projection here. Now what I will do, because backside hydrogen is here and this bromine is here, both should be opposite to each other. So I will rotate the front carbon by 60 degrees. So after rotating by 60 degrees, what do I get? This staggered conformer will convert into an anti-conformer here. Sorry, we'll go this way with phenyl here, Br here, and H here, and backside I have hydrogen here, and methyl here, and phenyl here. Got it? Now see, this hydrogen and this bromine are anti-periplanar to each other, so base will extract proton from here and leaving group will go from there. So after the elimination, how does this look like? Look this way. So where you have this one and methyl, phenyl, and pH. Correct? If I translate that into the in case if at all I translate that into the Sawhorse projection, it is like two carbon connections with a double bond, correct? And here we have H, right? So we have one H and pH here, correct? And the backside carbon, says this is the front carbon, this is the back carbon. And on the back carbon, I have methyl and phenyl here, right? So observe carefully, this phenyl and phenyl are opposite to each other. So these two should be opposite to each other. So what is the final product you are getting in this example? Trans as the major product. Trans as major product. Here. So whether you will get cis or trans, whether we should get cis or trans completely depend upon whether you, which type of molecule, which type of Fisher projection you are taking. Everybody understood this? Any doubt there? See, this is I'm taking this as the front carbon, this is the back carbon. Okay. So front carbon has phenyl, hydrogen, and methyl. So front carbon has phenyl, bromine, and hydrogen. Okay. Back carbon has, on the same side it has methyl. This side it has hydrogen. Clear? Phenyl. Oh, I made a mistake. Sorry. Thank you. Phenyl has to be here. No? We'll check that. Hydrogen is here. So on rotating this with 90 degrees, so I have to rotate on the other side, not this side. I have to rotate this to the other side here. So bromine would be here. Bromine is here. Just a minute, guys. Made a mistake. Bromine is here, and pH is here, and H is here. Okay. And this H and pH are here. pH is here. Sorry, check. Okay. So these two are the ones which you have to eliminate. Got it. So from here, base is pulling. From here, Br is leaving. So how does the structure look like now? So we would have pH and H here, and we will have pH and methyl here. So actually these two are opposite to each other. Phenyl and methyl are opposite to each other. That means these two are adjacent to each other. Okay, so here this pH is here and H is here. So what we are getting is cis. Cis as the major, not trans. H here, Br, methyl, phenyl, and phenyl group, right? And you are making an elimination. Now, if Fischer projection is given, it is always going to be eclipsed form. So from here, you have to convert into staggered form and then do it. Okay. Cis. Okay. This time, I'll be doing with the Sohor's projections. See. So first, what I'll do, we know that Fischer projection is the eclipsed form. So first I'll mention that. So I have pH, Br, and H here. Backside we have methyl, hydrogen, and pH here. Got it? Now what I could do, I'll rotate. See, just to show you at more comfort position here, I'll just rotate this hydrogen backside molecule by 60 degrees and this by almost 120 degrees. So what do I get here? On rotation, we will get this as Br here, okay, H here, and pH here. If you see backside, H here, pH here, and methyl here. So this is the way I can rotate. Rotation could be as for your comfort, students, but just make sure that both the leaving groups are anti-parallel to each other. So now you can see they are anti-parallel to each other. Br will go from there, H will go from here. Okay. So which means we are getting, double bond this way. There is a double bond forming here with these two groups, which is methyl and phenyl, and there is a double bond forming here with H and phenyl. So how phenyl are to each other? They are cis to each other. So cis is a major product. First we'll write the eclipsed form. So pH, H, and Br. This is the front carbon. Back carbon, then write it as pH, H, and methyl. Right. So back carbon I can rotate by 60 degrees. So I keep it this way with Br, pH, and H, and back carbon I have hydrogen here, okay, methyl here, and phenyl here. So this side and this side elimination is happening this way. So here hydrogen, both of them, if you remove it, what do we expect to have now? So here we can expect to have pH and H and pH and methyl. See how phenyl are adjacent to each other, so that's why it is cis. You can rotate front carbon also, it doesn't matter. You just make sure both of them come opposite to each other. Okay, students, see, I'm using the same question now. Okay, observe this carefully, everybody. I'm using same question now, where we have phenyl, bromine, hydrogen, but this time instead of having methyl, I'm taking two hydrogens. Okay, this is a very important part for JE. Check out everyone. In this, now when I write the Fisher projection, when I write the Newman projection here, so I would get pH, Br and H, and backside I have pH, backside I have pH and H here and H here. Here. So there are two ways I can rotate. Check out. Suppose if at all I rotate back carbon this way on this side, and I will get one position here. So where you have Br and H opposite to each other, pH, H here, okay, and backside pH is here, H is here. This is one way, correct? The other way around is I can bring this H towards this opposite side. So I can bring this H also, right? All I need is a proton. So if at all I rotate this way and I bring that H to 120 degrees there, I mean rotate it by 180 degrees there. So what do I get here now? What I can expect is this B. Yes, beta. So Br here, H here, H here, this pH here, and H here. Okay, students. Now see the elimination. Br is eliminated from here, H is eliminated from here. Here Br is eliminated from here, H is eliminated from here. Okay. So in this case, we will get a cis alkene, C double bond C, pH and pH with H and H. And in this case, after the elimination happens, we'll have C double bond C with pH and H and pH. So I hope all of you are able to see that. Okay. So the second part, second one, what we got is a trans product, and what we got is a cis product. Now, in what I'm saying, students, see, E2 is definitely very selective when it comes to choosing proton. But here also, within that, it had two chances to get anti-periplanar. One chance is by this way, one chance is by this way. Out of this also, when you make E2, it will always choose to get trans as the major product. Everybody understood? So here also it will try to get trans as the major product. Here. So within the molecule also, once you decide regioselective, see regioselective is structural isomers. Now, when you get cis trans within them, then trans is major product, which means I can say that E2 mechanism is both stereo specific as well as stereo selective, stereo specific and stereo selective. Why stereo specific? Because it can do only anti-periplanar, correct? Here stereo specific. Specific means elimination will only happen when it becomes anti-periplanar. Stereo selective. Selective is always used in terms of product. So trans as major. Trans as major. So that's why it is stereo selective. So E2 is such kind of a mechanism which is regioselective, regiospecific, stereoselective as well as stereospecific. Is this point clear, everyone? So, for example, I'll give you without any Fisher projection, if at all I give you like this. Okay, so there is a halide here, Br, got it? And alcoholic KOH being used, got it? See what are the products it can get? It can get a double bond here, it can get a double bond here, correct? And within this also it can get a cis, within this double bond it can get a cis also, like this. So basically it gets three products here. So first, between these two which is major? Between these two which is major? Because correct. So these two are one regional ones. This is one regional one. So between these two and this would be major. And within them, which is a major, the first one will be major. So I'll write it as A, B, C. First, C. Between AC and B when you compare, correct? Then this has become major. This explains regioselectivity. Regioselectivity. Clear? And A versus C, if you compare, A has become major, which explains stereoselectivity. So I hope all of you understood what is regioselective and stereoselective. Similarly, when base is attacking, see when base is attacking, clear? It can attack here, it can attack here. Which is more preferred position? This is preferred. So since it is preferred, which means this aspect, what do we call in the mechanism? Regiospecific. This is regiospecific. And when do we call something stereospecific? It could have got syn elimination also. It could make anti-elimination also. Which is it preferring? It is preferring anti-periplanar. Anti-periplanar. Hence, it is stereospecific. So within one question, you can see all four are present here. So regiospecific, stereospecific, regioselective, and stereoselective. Selective word should be used with respect to product. Specific word should be used with respect to the attack. You want to understand cave, check exactly the bonding is. You can go through this once again. See Br, this is the Br which is leaving. This is the proton which you are expecting it to leave. Yeah. So proton is, base is taking away proton and you'll get this double. Same way you can understand from here. Br is going from here. Hydrogen will go from here. So we will get this as a product. Okay. Now, coming to the cyclic forms. Right. First, let me explain and then I'll get back to the structure. Cyclohexyl systems. Give the heading as cyclohexyl systems. So in cyclohexyl systems, how do we need to check out the departing groups? If we have a group like this where I have methyl and then have chlorine here and there is chlorine and hydrogen. This is the weight. And ETO minus K plus is what we are looking at. So the product formation, if you check out the major product where it is forming here. So the major product which it is forming is here actually. This is CH3 and hydrogen is here and methyl is this one. Now what supposed to be major product must form here, right? But it is forming here. Why it is happening like that? Check out. If you write it in the cyclic, if you write it in the chair form for the same. So when we write the chair form, observe one thing carefully, that chlorine, if at all I put it at the axial position and methyl here. So with respect to chlorine, this hydrogen is cis, and with respect to this chlorine, methyl is trans. So this methyl is here and hydrogen is here. Right, everyone? Now observe this. Chlorine and this methyl are anti-periplanar to each other. This hydrogen and this chlorine is not even syn also. For syn also it has to be parallel, na? So one thing you got to understand, can we ever get two equatorial to become syn? We can never make two equatorial to become syn. We can never make two equatorial to become trans, because you have to have periplanar also, which means it has to be on the same plane. So two equatorials on the same plane with syn or anti is difficult. So that is an important note. Okay. Equatorial positions can never be periplanar. Can never be periplanar, whether it is syn or anti. Clear? Which means they cannot come on one plane. You know, when you write the chair form. Since this cannot come, the leaving group must be always on the axial position. So if you are doing an elimination, make sure the leaving group always has to be on the axial position only. We cannot put it on equatorial position and make an elimination. So that is the next important point. Elimination, sorry, leaving group must be on axial position only. Must be on axial position only. Clear? Next, we always try to make us anti-elimination only. So if Cl is leaving here, hydrogen must have been here so that it is anti-elimination to each other. But hydrogen is not here. Where are the other hydrogens? See, there is one hydrogen here and one hydrogen here, like this. Here. Now, if you observe this hydrogen, okay, this hydrogen and this hydrogen are anti-periplanar to each other. See, only axial forms can come into periplanarity. And within that, this Cl and H are anti-periplanar to each other. So how does the elimination take place? Cl will go from here, H will go from here, and double bond will form here. That's why this is a major product. Suppose, in case if I took chlorine here, Cl, okay, and methyl here. I wanted to do ETO minus. This is the way it is. Check out what should be the product here, student. See, in the first case, when you write the chair form, you need to make sure that chlorine has to be on the axial position. So chlorine is here. Next, this chlorine is in cis to methyl, correct? So these two are cis position. So which means methyl is here. So fortunately, hydrogen is at the anti-periplanar position. So this hydrogen and halide from here can eliminate to give a product with double bond here. So this will be the major product. Clear? Will there be any minor product? Yes, there will be minor product also on this side here, like this. Correct? Why? You can see this side also I can get an anti-periplanar hydrogen, right? This is also an anti-periplanar hydrogen. So that side also I can get a major product. That side also I can get one product. So this will be major. So this is minor. So remember, major and minor here are subject to the availability of the anti-periplanar hydrogen. If anti-periplanar hydrogen is not available, then major or minor will be different. We cannot say cis is major, trans is major, like okay? Here. So I'm mentioning here, both of them are methyl groups here. So definitely elimination cannot happen from this end. It has to only happen from the other end. So that chlorine and this hydrogen. So when it comes to the elimination here. Are there any multiple products or only product here? So this is the only product you will get. Okay, here, right, what I said is that these two are anti-periplanar to each other. At the same time, I'm also finding these two are anti-periplanar to each other. So elimination can happen here also, it can happen here also. So when both sides are done, I will check out the major product based on their stability. So you can see this will be more stable as compared to that of this one in terms of stability if you check out. So major would be this one, minor would be this one. Okay. I said if there was any chance of getting some cis or trans here, okay, that would be only dependent on the orientation. Are you getting the point? So whether we have this anti-periplanar hydrogen available or not. If hydrogen is not available, doesn't matter whether which is more stable, we cannot get it. For example, this might become major if methyl was here, no? Are you getting it? And that would have been the only product. Then this product won't come only. This product won't come only. I hope you understood what I'm saying. Imagine if methyl is here and hydrogen is here. Then I'll get this as the only product. Check the next one here. Suppose chlorine there, and let us put the positions here. This is how we have. So with respect to chlorine, these two are cis to each other. So since cis to each other means ethyl is here and the other part is hydrogen. And methyl is here and there is hydrogen here. Now how many products we will get in this case? Now you can see that with respect to this chlorine and methyl, they both are anti-periplanar. So this side double bond is not possible. No? Only this side it is possible. So double bond will form on ethyl side here, and on the methyl side it will just remain the methyl here, and this is the only product. See the next question. When it comes to cyclo groups here, I mean bicyclo forms here, then we will have this way: chlorine and hydrogen, correct, and hydrogen and deuterium. Chlorine and hydrogen here and deuterium. That treat with alcoholic KOH and heat. What do we get here? See, is it possible to make sure this Cl has any anti-periplanar here? No, right? This does not have any anti-periplanar form. Everyone, can you see that? This chlorine is oriented this side. So if there was any anti-periplanar, hydrogen must have been this way. But structurally, this is not possible. Structurally, we cannot make this hydrogen to come here. So anti is not possible in these cases. The only possibility is syn. Okay. So the product that will come is only by syn elimination. Now what is the product you will get? You will get a double bond here, plus what are the removed groups here now? Cl and D are been removed here. So this plus DCl. That is a product form. See, that is what I have shown here. So again, I took it from this data only. So in this data, you can clearly see that when you have this kind of form, you take any particular carbon beta. If you take this carbon, it has to have sp3 hybridization, right? Now, if these two are oriented this way, the other two has to be this way only. Same way, this carbon, all of them have to be non-planar. No? So one thing what you can see that this Br and D, they appear to be on the same plane. So this is that plane. Okay. So they will come on that same plane. So only syn periplanar is possible when it comes to bicyclo groups with bridgeheads like this. Okay. So anti-periplanar is not possible in this case. So the only type of elimination you can expect is syn elimination. Right. So that's why you see the major product what you will get is only syn elimination as 94%. Anti-elimination, you know, by force, if at all I make this Br and H to somehow get, you know, here, by force some small amount of, you know, in would form here. So those who don't understand the chair form which I have written, these are the two examples which I have mentioned here. Please go through them once again. Okay. See, next important point in this topic is about kinetic isotopic effect. Isotopic effect. Suppose if I take pH CH2 CH2Br, treat that with ETO minus and heat. Correct? Here I'll get an alkene pH CH double bond CH2. Same way, this time what I'm doing, I'm putting pH CD2 CH2Br and ETO minus and heat. This time I'll get pH CD double bond CH2. Okay. So in the first case, the rate constant which I'll get, I'll write it as Kh. So what is rate constant? See, rate of any reaction can be written in terms of some constant multiplied by the concentration of reactant, concentration of substrate. Okay, so this is the substrate which we are taking, or the reactant. Okay, so this constant, so the rate, when, you know, structurally it is slightly different here, isotopic structure has been kept. First it was protium, now it is deuterium. Then concentration is same, but yet the rate will change, and that factor depends upon the rate constant. So this k is called rate constant. So rate constant in the case of first one, I'm defining it as Kh. Rate constant in the second one, I'm defining it as Kd. Okay. Now, if you observe, if Kh by Kd, is observed to be around, you know, up to uh, greater than 4 or between 4 to 8 here, or in some cases it might go more than 8 also, but this is an average I'm saying, right? So average is this, that around it would go from 4 to up to 8 like this. In this range, if you get this ratio, which means the rate of the first reaction is very high compared to the rate of the second reaction. Everyone? Yes, this is clear? Okay. Sorry, not 4, 2. Yeah. So what we can say that rate of the first reaction is very high compared to the second reaction in case if Kh by Kd is greater than 2 or between in this range. Such kind, if it happens, we say that it has primary isotopic effect. We'll say that the reaction is showing primary isotopic effect. When would this usually happen? We will get primary isotopic effect when carbon hydrogen bond is breaking in the rate determining step. In rate determining step or slow step, what we would see that rate determining step, if C and H bond breaks, it gives primary isotopic effect. Primary isotopic effect. If you see the E2 mechanism, in E2 mechanism, there is only one step. Suppose Br is leaving from here, H is leaving from here. Base is extracting, pi bond is moving, Br minus is moving. So you can see this is going to be an alkene formation here. So we would have C double bond C type formation here. Okay, everyone. So from here we can say that it is experiencing a primary isotopic effect. Okay. So wherever the carbon hydrogen bond is breaking, in the rate determining step, in the slow step, we say the reaction experiences primary isotopic effect. Everyone, I guess you understood what it meant. Okay, this hugely influences the rate. So the rate of the reaction will become different when you change hydrogen with deuterium. Suppose if carbon hydrogen bond breaking is not happening in the slow step, then it is called secondary isotopic effect, and the value of Kh by Kd would be less. Okay, so let me mention that if Kh by Kd is less than 2, we say the reaction is experiencing secondary isotopic effect, experiences secondary isotopic effect. Okay. Here, rate determining step involve does not involve breaking of or breakage of carbon hydrogen bond. In case if it is a carbocation, if you remember, this molecule is less stable compared to that of CH3, C plus. Okay. So irrespective of whether there is any isotopic effect or not, we will always say that carbon hydrogen carbocation here with will have more hyperconjugation than this. So this is going to be more stable compared to that of CD3 C plus. And this will become a very useful source for E1 mechanism. Otherwise, I think now you should be able to figure out what is this. Please make a note of it, everyone. During the mechanism, while we are writing it for E2, E1, SN1, SN2, here, every mechanism has different need. For example, if it is SN1, okay, what happens in SN1? C, CH3, CH3, and Cl. First, in slow step, there is no carbon hydrogen breaking. Isn't it? So your reactions are already defined. Your mechanisms are already defined. You are just trying to find out whether they are kinetically affected or not. Yeah, isotopically affected or not. You are just trying to figure out that. I hope you understood what I'm trying to say. Suppose if this is a defined one, now here in this is a slow step. In the slow step, is there any carbon hydrogen breaking bond here? No. So which type of isotopic effect it will show? Secondary isotopic effect, SIE. Here, see SN2 mechanism. In SN2 mechanism, what is happening? In SN2, the attack and removal of the group happens simultaneously. This is attacking, this is removal. And this is the slow step or the only step. Is there any breaking of carbon hydrogen bond here? No. So this is also secondary isotopic effect. Yeah. Let's say E1. In E1, what is happening? In E1, first carbon will break, carbocation will form here. Then the second step elimination is happening. Then base will extract proton and make an elimination. But which is a slow step? This is a slow step. So in this slow step, is there any carbon hydrogen bond breaking? No. So hence elimination 1 is also a secondary isotopic effect. Whereas in E2, carbon hydrogen bond is breaking in the slow step only, hence it is a primary isotopic effect. Rate will be changed. If it is primary isotopic effect, okay, if you replace all the hydrogens with deuterium, the rate will be very slow. Okay. If you take primary isotopic, if there is a secondary isotopic effect, replace all the hydrogens with deuterium. What I meant to say, the same reaction once do with all hydrogens and do the same reaction once with all deuteriums. When you put it all deuterium, okay. So what I'm saying, when it comes to slow step, suppose here all deuteriums, all hydrogens are replaced by deuterium. When it was only hydrogen, the rate constant is Kh. When all of them are deuteriums, then the rate constant is Kd. Now between these two, you'll always find that KH is greater than KD, because whether it is a carbocation form or whether it is a elimination form, in all of the cases, the stability of either the carb anion or carbon hydrogen bond breaking is always faster as compared to that of deuterium cases. So if you replace all these hydrogens with deuterium also, you'll usually find KH is always greater than KD. Well, this is used for detection of, the isotopic content present in the molecule. How much is the isotopic content present? If there are all hydrogens, how does it behave? If there are all deuteriums, how does it behave? Okay, and how much faster or slower the reaction rate would be. Okay, see, in primary isotopic effect, what is happening? Carbon hydrogen bond is breaking in the slow step. So this is a slow step, and that is where the bond breaking is taking place. In secondary isotopic effect, carbon hydrogen bond is not broken. Some other bonds are broken in the secondary isotopic effect. Okay, then the RDS, because it slow step does not involve carbon hydrogen, the KH value with regards to KD value does not increase drastically. That's why its range is only between 1 to 2. Clear? Is this point clear, everyone? Yes, beta. Suppose I just showed you, for example, if you take SN1, if the carbocation which I get when you have all hydrogens and when you have all deuteriums, which is more stable? This one is more stable. So reaction will happen faster when you have all hydrogens, no? Not deuteriums. Clear?